start recording?
Yes, go ahead, full moon. They're right on time. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
All right, we can officially begin the El Portal Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force meeting at 4:05 p.m. And we'll start with Mayor Nickerson and roll call.
Yes, let's do the pledge first.
Oh, no, sorry. Silent
Okay.
meditation and pledge.
Problems,
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Give me 1 second, Madam Chair.
All right, now I can turn it back over to Mayor Nickerson for
Absolutely.
roll call.
No problem. Roll call. Member Webb.
You're muted.
Present.
Thank you. Member Valencia.
Present.
Member Fruitstone.
Present.
Vice Chair McLean.
Present.
Chairperson Carpenter.
Present.
Madam Chair, you do have a quorum. Madam Chair, for the record, we do have Hugh Gladwin, who acts as a consultant, and the liaison is here also. Liaison Nickerson.
All right, perfect, full house. All right, so we can move right along to approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to today's agenda? No? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as written.
Can I get a second?
I'll-
Okay, hearing a motion in a second. All those in favor of approving today's agenda as written, say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of minutes from the following meeting. So I have not had a chance to look at these.
We can
But I'm
table them
willing to-
till the next time, Madam Chair. If
Okay,
you would like.
I think that's I think that makes sense.
We just need a motion, a motion in a second.
Okay, I think that's member Valencia.
Well,
Okay, I think that was a motion for member Valencia to table them till the next meeting. I would just need a second.
I second.
All right, all those in favor of tabling till the next meeting, say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed say nay. Hearing none, the approval of the minutes from the last meeting are tabled until the next meeting. All right, acknowledgements of visitors and special presentations. Do we have any, Mayor Nickerson?
I have none, Madam Chair.
Okay. Good and welfare. See, we have Mr. Gladwin, and I think no other attendees. So any good and welfare, Mr. Gladwin? Nice to see you. No, okay. Moving on to the main agenda, H1 sustainability ideas for the Village of El Portal. And I think the presentation is referencing Member Webb's presentation. Is that right? Okay, great. Can we, Pat, Member Webb, do you mind taking over again and sharing with us your presentation from last meeting?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just pull that up. Okay. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah, as I said before, the presentation was really just a starting point to spark some ideas. I mean, I'm obviously learning about some of the initiatives that have happened and are planning to happen, but I don't have wide knowledge of all the details. So I was really just, doing some research on some of the key things that make a great green environment, and trying to put them in the context of what has been done, what might be planned, and what might be up for discussion. And that's essentially what this table is. So it's really just to put it out to the rest of the committee for input, to check and validate some of my assumptions are correct, and if anything needs to be changed or moved around or scrapped completely.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. So yeah, if you'll just take a look at it, I don't know if you've had a chance prior to this or you want to go through it now, that's entirely fine.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, if you're agreeable to that, we kind of go through it, all 10 topics and talk about current, potential, and future, and just use it as you mentioned, as a great brainstorming opportunity. Okay, great. Everyone can see this, right? Yeah. All right. All right. So do you want to talk us through your thoughts for each one, and then we can all chime in?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of assumptions I've made here. So under parks, I know we currently have our nature walk. It'd be great to look at other opportunities or places within the village that we could, either expand that or have other kind of outdoor public places. That's kind of potential and future. I don't know if we want to deal with each topic and discuss it after that.
I would love to do each topic if that's okay with you, so that we don't merge them all together. And maybe, if you don't mind, just as a potential structure, if you can introduce the topic, maybe Mayor Nickerson can speak about what our current situation is on those, and then we can talk about potential and future.
Yeah,
Does that work with you too, Mayor Nickerson? Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. That's no problem.
Thank you.
I mean, for our parks, we have a few parks. We currently have like 4 or 5. Right now, I got the money to start to renovate all the parks. So that's going to start soon.
Plus the expansion of the nature trail, right?
Expansion of the nature trail is something that we're still working. It's not part of that initial park renovation project. And nature trail is tied into Horace Mann. So it's just the school board and Horace Mann are just, being slow to give us that rest of that field, that's obviously the field that we need to expand the nature trail. So that's separate from the renovation, like, putting all the Wi-Fi and renovating the parks. I have that already ready to go. So
where would the nature trail, is it going to be expanded, up like the west side of?
Expanded north. So it's just going to be wider. It's going to be larger, like wider. That's all.
Okay.
We got a grant. We won a open space grant to do that like 5 years ago, but the problem was that we had to get the school board to agree to give us the extra land, and that's been part of the sticking point this whole time.
And they're still on the fence about agreeing to that?
It was that, and then just previously, the previous just council, when they fell out with the septic sewer, that whole Panoni situation, that tied into it because that's where the pump's supposed to go. So the sewage pump is supposed to go at the west end of the expansion of the nature trail. I mean, it's supposed to be fenced in, of course, so it's pretty, but it's supposed to be at the west end of the expansion of the nature trail. So all that kind of like fell into the same thing. But right now, it's the school board. We're back on the same footing with the septic sewer engineers, Panoni. So now it's just the school board that's holding that nature trail expansion. But the other parks are good to be renovated. I already got the money for that, and everything's good to go.
And how many parks in total do we have? Like I'm imagining them all, but I don't know.
It's 5. It's the Sherwood Forest. It's the River Estates. It's the Tot Lot. It's the
nature trail.
Nature trail. It's 4. There's one more. I'm missing something. There's a 5th, or is it 4? I have
Sherwood Forest.
Oh,
I have 5.
The burial mound.
Yeah,
Sherwood. Yeah, Sherwood.
The
Yeah,
mound.
No, I have 5 in my mind. Yes, the burial mound.
you are right.
Okay. Do we want to talk about potential? Do we think there are potential opportunities to expand or create new parks?
I would offer that we should wait, that we should table that for the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
I was just going to
Page
say
2.
that might fall
I
into the
wondered.
next item.
Okay. So
Vice Chair McLean. That's right. On top of things.
All right. So we'll table parks, but it's good to have a just top of our minds, the 5 parks that we do have. But moving on to transportation, Member Webb.
Yeah, transportation. I mean, it's kind of broad. Again, a lot of these are in the context of maybe a larger city. I'm not aware of any current transportation initiatives, but I guess sidewalks might fall into that kind of broad region. And I know there's discussion about the RTZ. So, I guess that's a good place to kind of put this issue as well.
So, Madam Chair, just to chime in.
Yes, please.
As far as transportation, we have a free circulator shuttle that's coming. It's already done. I've already had it paid for. I paid for it through all that, those millions of dollars I got into those different grants and funding and stuff like that. So that's going to start, should start like next month. Everything's done. The contracts have been put in. All we're waiting for is to get the final contract back for the final approval from the county. It's going to run for a couple of years for initial project, project, and after that, so basically I have 2 years funded, and after that we'll just have to go and see if we want to keep it, if it's working for the village, and if so, I'll just have to secure additional grant funding for it.
And what's the route of that? Where's that going?
It's going to be 2 stops. One is at Village Hall. One is right at the beginning of the nature trail on the east side of the nature trail where the school is. And it's going to go downtown to where the Bright Line station is. Multiple times per day. Multiple times per day. When you get on it's going to be hours. So when you get on it, I've already set it up to where the TVs will be playing with like El Portal information and things like that. So people can see all information and stuff like that while they're doing that travel. I've already ordered, or I had me and the man, every time I say me, is myself and the manager. You guys understand? Like me and her do everything like we're locked together. So we've already ordered the awnings for both locations. So rain is not going to matter. People waiting for it and things like that. It's not going to matter. Everything's totally free. That should start. I've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, you guys. So that should start really, really soon, but it's going to be really, really good. And that'll run for a couple of years.
How many times a day will that run? Is it just like constantly going back and forth? Or? It's
going to be constant, yeah, going back and forth. I don't know how long, let's say, for example, I don't know how long when it gets to the Bright Line station. I have to look at that. It's in the contract, I'm sure, how long it waits at the Bright Line, because it might wait there for like an hour before it goes back to El Portal, or you know what I mean? Okay. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, it's going to run constant. It runs from, let's say, like 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. or something like that.
Okay, and you said it's free to El Portal residents?
It's free, yeah.
If you're not an El Portal resident, can you still use it?
It's free. As far as I know, it's free as long as you're at those stops. It's free.
That's awesome.
And as far as just real quick, I don't want to take up too much time, but so that's one thing for transportation. As far as it should be really good. As far as the additional sidewalks, I got the $1.3 million to redo all of 87th Street, east to west, and I'm going to be putting. That's when Chairperson Carpenter, which we're looking into Chairperson Carpenter. We contacted somebody initially for the bioswales. They said that with the 1.3 million, it might not be a good idea to do. They said because the upkeep of the bioswales, we don't have the funding for the continuous upkeep of them. So our first engineer told us that we shouldn't do it. They advised we shouldn't do it, but we're talking to a couple other engineers. But we are going to do that east to west, 87th Street, completely redone. And we're going to put in sidewalks where they're not sidewalks. So that's part of that sidewalk thing. Remember what? And RTZ, you guys already know how crazy the RTZ situation is, so I'm not even going to touch that again right now. With the density and all that type of stuff that the county's trying to do.
Okay.
So public space, I was kind of viewing this as activities and public space. So I know you talked about the possibility of some outdoor exercise equipment in the nature walk. And then just looking ahead, maybe there's opportunities for other kind of activities that can be programmed in some of our spaces, and what kind of infrastructure we might use for that, such as performance space or having someone focus on programming activities, stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, that, the exercise equipment, that's something, and Maribel's been kind of like helping me out with that a little bit. That's something that would come with the next trail expansion. So that's kind of like It just deals with nature trail expansion as far as the exercise equipment, because we have no other park that will be able to, that's large enough to handle any type of exercise equipment anyway. So the nature trail expansion would only be the only one that can do that. Performance space and programming village activities. So we've had, myself and the manager had a meeting last week with a group of individuals that come out of New York. They're looking to also possibly buy the Little River farm space, and they want to develop it. And they've talked to the county, so they knew about the rapid transit zone when I brought it up. They said, yeah, we knew that, we know that's coming, Mayor. They said, so we've already like kind of talked to the county about it so that we be in compliance with what they kind of want, but at the same time try to figure out a way so that El Portal would not be just taken over by just a whole bunch of like 40 foot tall buildings. So they spoke to the county. What the county told them was they would settle for a type of decreasing type of setup starting, on Biscayne. They'll have the really tall buildings. And then as you go down, you get closer to El Portal, to the train tracks, it decreases. And by the train tracks would be a space of just green space before you even have any type of buildings. So it'll be green space after the train tracks for, a certain amount of space. And then it would start with like small townhouses, and then it would increase as you went out towards Biscayne. They already spoke to the county about that. Myself and the manager told them, if you guys are talking about, because what would eventually happen because that's a large space, you guys, so if they're talking about building mixed use, which would be, of course, some retail and restaurants and things like that, but also housing. With the mixed use they're talking about, the amount of houses they would be talking about, they would be almost like doubling El Portal's population. Myself and the village manager, and the only reason I'm bringing this up because it goes to the whole thing with space, member Webb. Myself and the manager said, well, if you guys are talking about doubling our population, then we need not only development fees, but we also need impact fees of some sort. Because we need to, if you guys are talking about doubling our population, we want to more than double our police force. And so they said that if they did this, if it would go through, if the sale would go through, if they did this, they put a whole nother municipality building on their property. So it would either be that the El Portal Village Hall right now will become the police station, and that new property will become, El Portal's government center, which it probably won't do that unless the government center would be in like a prime area, because we have to be forefront, So most likely what will probably happen is that the police station will probably be on their property, since that's where all the residents are going to be anyway, like the not all the residents, but a real, residents in an area that they're all like in together.
High density residents.
High density. Density is the word I was looking for. I was going to say developed area, but I wanted to mean density. Thank you, Vice Chair. So since they're all going to be over there, we'll put the police department over there, and then we'll keep the village hall where it is. You guys know I said that I'm halfway through with the good news from what we're hearing from the state and the nation and Washington D.C. But they say we're halfway through with getting that $900,000 funding to put the second floor on Village Hall. So hopefully that goes through also. So that's how that would be. But that kind of, if that goes through member Webb, that would be, it's additional spacing and things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just thinking about additional space too is like, I know that you can currently rent out the Village Hall right now for like events and things like that, like a community
Absolutely.
space that people could utilize, right?
Yeah.
The quick question about the development, this new company that's come to you with the little farm, did they, you said moving from high density to low density with like a green space, have they talked at all about some kind of like water retention feature to help with flooding and, implementing the AAA plan?
They didn't
As I say,
mention that.
wetlands offset on the south, part of the parcel, right?
Yeah, they didn't mention
storage.
that. Yeah, they didn't mention that, but I think that, that would come with like probably like the second or third meeting. This meeting was a meeting to where they already met with the county. This meeting was to meet with myself and the manager to see if what they were saying was like part of like what could be there zone wise, and and they want to talk about the RTZ and just things like that. They want to kind of get like our feel of like, you know, should they even move forward with that? That's what the meeting was basically about. So they said that they're having a meeting with the owners, I think this upcoming week. And they said they'll set up another meeting with us like the day or a couple of days after that. So the first meeting we had was myself, the manager, and Placervia, Juan and Camilla, and them.
Okay. Yeah, I think my only thoughts on that I think it's ideally really important to have some of that land be used for, you know, wetlands or water storage feature.
Yeah. Absolutely, Madam Chair.
Mr. Gladwin?
Yeah, I want to second that, you know, because that low elevation land is over there is really low. I mean, the cost, if they're going to infill it and develop it, it's going to be a huge cost. So by making some kind of wetland area there, you know, tied in with water birds and everything. I mean, you know, I missed the last meeting, but I looked at the tape, and a neighbor of mine came and talked about, you know, the greenway and everything. And I just thought about, you know, all these developments in the county that have lakes in the middle, you know, and it's really beautiful, and you might see 3 birds there. Can you imagine the value of a green space here that will be just filled with wildlife and everything? You know, so for them, it could be an enormous asset, and it would spare them the cost of having to mitigate this big area that's a big flood problem. So, my thought.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally second that.
Okay.
Actually,
Next
you know what,
one.
sorry, before we go on, can
Okay.
I jump right back to transportation? I just wanted to add, I know that Mayor Nickerson, we had spoken about bike connectivity in the village. I think I think improving 87th is wonderful, but just is wonderful, full stop. Additionally, I think it would be great if we could have an easier or better connection to Biscayne Bay. Maybe a safer connection. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there generally. Like I know that there is a connection now, but it'd be great if you could use bikes as a legitimate means of getting around instead of having to drive to Publix or drive to Walgreens and things like that.
Gotcha. So a bike connection to Biscayne Boulevard.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Because I think within El Portal, even in the areas that don't have sidewalks, it's not that difficult. But when you start to get into the higher density, more traffic heavy areas, it becomes dangerous.
I got you. I understand.
Just throwing that out there as a
I got
thought.
you. I got you.
We're talking about transportation.
It's the
Once
next.
we look at the development, once we look at the development.
Oh,
of
no.
87,
Number 4 is bike lanes.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, Madam Chair, I thought you brought it up. I was like, okay, she's leading right into the
No,
next
I'm
one,
so
which is
sorry.
good.
No, it's okay. But also, I mean, actually, yeah, number 4 is just bike lanes, bike lanes, bike lanes. We need them. But I was also just thinking, I don't know whatever happened to the shared bike boom that briefly happened. I mean, I know Miami Shores had the Lime bikes, and I actually found them quite useful for a little bit. But I think that fad has kind of passed, and now everyone's on scooters. But I don't know, Mayor Nickerson, if they ever approached you, or if there was any discussion about some of those shared services.
Not necessarily, and you guys might want to kill me for this next thing that I'm going to say, but here we go. So myself and the manager had a meeting. Well, first of all, let me give a big shout out, even though she's not here, but a big shout out to Mayor Levine Kopp. She has been wonderful with us, and we've been in three meetings. Myself, the manager, and Mayor Levine Kava. Mayor Levine Kava at each meeting has given us her entire staff. You're talking about Zoom meetings with about 22 people on it. So she is me, the manager, the mayor, and all of her department heads. And so every meeting we go through so many different things, and then we have, and now we started to have our breakout meetings. And so we had a 2-hour meeting last week with her entire transportation department. And we went through, they actually brought up the map, and they went through, that app that they used, that program they use where they can change the streets around and things like that to where we want. And so we redid all of Northeast 2nd between 85th and up to 91st, 92nd. And so what they did was they got exactly what we were kind of looking at. So we had bike lanes on both sides, right? It was for traffic calming. So we put bike lanes on both sides. We put, different little options and things like that, because Northeast 2nd is supposed to be, more in the future, it's going to be like, part of our kind of like downtownish business district also. And because of the amount of space that we had on Northeast 2nd.
You're still sharing screen.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant to just open. I was trying.
No, just so you know.
Yeah, nothing untoward.
Trevor's car is like, I've seen too many memes and videos of things going wrong with people sharing screens. It's all good. So that being said, you guys, they went through all different types of scenarios according to how much space is on Northeast 2nd. And we went through everything. We explained to them how, Miami Shores is the one way each direction, and it gets to us, and it's the 4-lane race highway, right? It opens up and then closes back down once you get past south of El Portal again, So to make it consistent, they actually drew up our plans to how Northeast 2nd would look. And they ended up taking out, they might have to take out one or both of the bike lanes that could be on Northeast 2nd for parking spaces, and to make space for that middle lane that will be a turning lane each direction. And just because of how the sidewalks would have to come out and things like that, they said that if we want to take it down to that one lane, they may not be able to do that and have the bike lanes at the same time, but they're going to try to see if they can. But we don't have the funding yet to change the sidewalks yet and to do that yet. But they will give us for free. They will do the painted intersections for traffic calm.
Okay.
That's where we're at
Like
with that.
Decoratively painted? I'm not sure.
Yeah, decoratively painted. Some places do it. I think Miami Shores might even have one of their intersections might be painted green. They're usually painted like green, kind of a greenish kind of color, and decorated.
Yeah,
kind of
near the Miami Theater Center, it's painted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it draws attention, so it's a
Yeah.
traffic calming type of thing. Yeah, and we be
Gotcha.
getting that for free. And Mayor Levine Cava said she would do that for us for free. And we were thinking about two intersections, 87th and 89th. In the meantime, like that would be done like in the next 6 to 8 months,
Okay. Great.
And depending on the space that we have as far as the width of Northeast 2nd, we'll see if we can do bike lanes along with the parking on the side, the same way that's south of us and the same way that's north of us in Miami Shores. So we'll connect it, so it'll be one type of theme. So
Are there bike lanes in Miami Shores?
Miami Shores have bike lanes?
I don't know.
It doesn't, not on Northeast 2nd. The bike lane that is on Northeast 2nd ends at the bridge.
Okay, so south
there
of
is
like in front of the Citadel has a bike lane.
Correct.
In that area.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a really dangerous bike lane because of there's a lot of people always park in front of Pack Supermarket, so it's not actually very effective in that stretch at all.
And to you guys, to your point, they were saying that they don't know if bike lanes would be able to be there because of those reasons that you guys are saying right now.
Okay.
Right.
Number 5.
Connecting it to the skate park. That's also a great idea as well if we ever have an opportunity to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Or even just sidewalks for walking.
Some way to get to it.
Exactly.
Well, just to link these two conversations, it does occur to me that if we can't have a bike lane up Northeast 2nd, I would just encourage us to try to always think about a bike lane, some way coming from the south. So if it could come behind Biscayne Boulevard and up through the little farm property to connect, or if we can ever convince the railroad to do an easement, like we've had lots of conversations over the years about how a bike lane can come through there. I know Adam, if he's on this call, would be able to talk about all of them. But, it doesn't just have to be Northeast Second. We can keep pushing for a bike lane through an alternative route.
Definitely, if we have development in the little farm, as a municipality and, as mayor, I'll definitely push for a bike lane as part of their development. So if that ever gets sold and developed, like we'll definitely push for a bike lane is one of the things that we really we want to see there,
Great. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Sorry, Member Webb, please proceed.
No, I mean, we touched on the next one, green buildings. You talked about the different potential options for either expanding or relocating the village hall. I don't know if there are any other potential buildings or partnerships planned in any other areas.
I mean, you just have the commercial stuff, but nothing that's government owned, right? So we have, the Vessel restaurant that's at the church came this week and started pulling more permits. So hopefully they're going to be moving forward really soon as far as the development goes. We just got in some building permit fees the week before last from the Cavisa development. So they're moving forward over there. I was on the phone 3 times today with the skateboard park. So they're doing their thing over there. So we commercially, we have things just starting to pop up, which is really good. But as far as, government buildings, not so much.
Yeah.
Are there opportunities for us, this is an open-ended question, to make our government buildings more energy efficient, and then also to make our commercial or residential buildings more energy efficient? When I think green buildings, that's what I think.
Yeah.
There's always, so in the last budget that, we just got out of or whatever, I upped our grant writer's salary so that he can start to look for more things and start to maintain more grants once we get them. And so 2 of the things I did tell him to look into more that we haven't in the past were more police grants for our police department and more energy efficient grants. So that would be part of like the green thing. So, we don't have, I have a lot of funding right now, but a lot of it's earmarked for certain things.
Can the funding that we have to expand Village Hall and put the second layer on, is there any funding in that pot to use to get the building certified to be like a LEED certified building?
It didn't have that language in there, no, when we applied for that.
Is there enough money to do something like that?
It depends on if they give us the full 900,000, and if we get that, and then we'll go to the engineers to see how building the second floor goes, and we'll see how much it costs, and we'll see what we have left over.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this is.
Go ahead, Madam Chair.
I was just gonna say, I think that the energy use in our village is an issue that we as a task force have not touched at all.
Yeah.
That's obviously a really big and important issue if we're trying to meet net neutrality and be carbon neutral in the next 10 to 20 years. We do have to start addressing that. We haven't addressed it at all. And obviously the easiest way, I feel like the lowest hanging fruit with energy efficiency is starting with the government buildings, because those are the ones that we have ownership interests over, and then also obviously addressing individual residences is very important, but it's a harder issue to address.
Absolutely. No, I hear you, and I don't disagree with you. I just know that I just can't really answer your question, because when we apply for the funding or the grants that we apply for them with we give them our ideas, but we don't have, like, we haven't spelled out like the fine details that the engineer and the architectural firm will spell out, because we don't go to them to spell it out before we go for the funding, because we have to pay for them you have to pay them to do the detail work, right? So until we get the funding, we don't even do that. We don't pay for them to do the detail work until we know we get the funding. So that will come once, if we get the full funding, and then we start to do the meetings with the contractors and the architectures and the engineers, then we'll know how much it's going to cost them to do the detail of doing the second floor, and then we'll know how much we have left over for that, and I'll be able to answer that question at that particular.
Okay, that's great. I was thinking the funding was in hand, but that makes a lot of sense. Mr. Gladwin?
Yeah, I just want to say for energy efficiency, if we're talking about that for the village, we really need to talk about a power grid plan and electricity plan for the whole village. You know, that's the big cost: heating, air conditioning, insulation, everything else. And right now, under the current setup, it's like each house for itself. So if the village really wanted to be serious about that, they would look into a power grid plan for the whole village that would look at solar power investments, backup grid stuff, and everything else. I mean, that's kind of the way to go today, and also address issues of power outage and storms and stuff like that. You know, otherwise it's better just to leave it to the individual households in their own situation.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any grants coming up for that with the new kind of infrastructure bill and the push for renewables. There may be.
There will be.
Yeah.
There will be.
Yeah, to circle back on what we're doing right now, the point of, you know, what this great presentation that Member Webb put together is for us to figure out what our next priorities are. And it seems like we just touched on one, right? We need energy efficiency and our power grid, and energy as a total package and our use of it. So maybe Mayor Nickerson, you could add, if you don't mind, in the notes that this is one of our next priorities. Does the rest of the task force kind of agree with that? That this should be something that we add to our to-do list?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, especially if we think there might be funding.
Awesome. Okay. I'll assume that no comment is an agreement.
Yeah, I mean, when I put this down, I was being very narrow-minded and literally just thinking about, well, we build the village hall as a green building, but now I'm seeing all the opportunities of actually, you know, having some initiatives that cover all the buildings in the village. And I think that's kind of exciting and an interesting proposition.
I told you, Matthew. I told you, remember where when you joined this task force, these are the best group of people. I told you,
opening my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I think that idea is really exciting. And even when we say, if we're putting energy as a priority, we can even tackle that, you know, on the easiest, lowest hanging fruit end when we talk about our education campaign, educating people on energy efficiency and insulation and cleaner sources of power, and you know, the kind of the stuff that are easy to put in pamphlets or put in an educational program. So it can be anywhere from that to what Hugh was talking about, you know, where we would redo our entire power grid. So, awesome. All right. Anything else on green buildings or move on? All right.
Recycling, I kind of lumped in composting as well. You know, just general initiatives and I guess education about how we can reduce the amount of recycling and waste. And then also just thinking about, back to composting, about if there's, I mean, I know we had that initiative for that kind of individual composting service, but if there's a way to maybe think of a more centralized composting service, if such a thing exists, that's kind of, whether that's, you know, something where you take your kind of compost waste to in conjunction with the service that you've already proposed.
I mean, well, let me, Madam Chair,
Yes, please go ahead.
So let me jump in here. So, no, I hear what you're saying. I just think that the service that Chairperson Carpenter brought to us, with them coming to each household, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? Like, you know, there's no excuse. Like, it's right there in front of your house. Chairperson Carpenter's usually been on those emails with me, but Chairperson Carpenter, if you recall, I told him that I think I said November 5th I was going to start passing those out if the weather upheld. I think it was November 5th. So I'll start passing those out this weekend and early next week if the weather upholds. As far as the pamphlets with that, all the flyers and everything with that. But I hear what you're saying, Member Webb. A centralized location as far as individuals taking the compost. But I mean, what more can you ask for? They're giving you front door service.
There is a cost associated with that. I know it's minor, right? But
Yes.
I don't know. I guess it might turn some people off. But you're right. I mean, the thought of like putting your trash in your car and driving it somewhere, but it's not as attractive as maybe just leaving it outside your door.
And we may have talked about this in the context of the compost service, but I don't remember. There's no county compost service here, right? Like we used to have that up north. There's no county compost service at all, right?
Not that I know of. No, there's no compost service from the county.
Yeah, Member Webb, I mean, I hear you. I love the idea of being able to just have a compost pile in the corner of Sherwood Forest Park, and I could just go dump my compost there every day, and it would be included in my taxes. And if there's any opportunities for that, I would also love it. It kind of reminds me, it feels like it's paired with the community garden idea that you brought, right at the beginning. But I think that I imagine the same issues with this would apply to the issues we have in the community garden. Who would maintain it?
Yeah, it's just dropping stuff on a pile, right? It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Someone would have to be
take some work
maintaining the compost. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you though. I think that the cost will turn some people off, and it's unfortunate, but I'm very interested in any other ideas that we have, but I'm glad that we've got something at least now in the village.
Yeah. Yeah. And any other issues around recycling that anyone would care to bring up or can think of?
Yeah, I have an issue. I think that, I think that our recycling bins are way too small to only be collected every 2 weeks. I think I run out of space in my recycling bin every single pickup. And I don't know if that's a matter of maybe us getting an availability of having a second recycling bin or having more frequent pickup, but I know there's a cost issue associated with more frequent pickup. So that's one thing that I would love to bring up. And the other one being, in our education campaign, I think it'd be really great to address what can and cannot be recycled, because so much recycling gets thrown away because people are putting things in that pile that can't be recycled, and it contaminates the entire batch. So I know I'm guilty of this in years past, but you want to recycle as much as you can. So you say, I don't know whether this can be recycled or not, so I'll just put it in there. Hoping, that it is, but oftentimes it cannot be, and then that entire batch has to get thrown away. So I'd love to do some kind of like education campaign that we keep talking about education campaign, but add into that education on recycling.
So there's the other part of that, Elizabeth, is like volume.
Yeah.
Volume can be reduced if people aren't putting non-recyclables in the recyclable too, right?
Great point.
So the whole, I mean, part of what I've been thinking a lot about, and this is like through COVID and the amount of shipping that's going on, which is just not sustainable, is just reducing the volume of recycling, because, I think just with the 6 R's are, one of the 6 R's is refuse, right? So like just trying to reduce the volume of recycling. And then also, I don't know where we are nationally with recycling, but during COVID, there was lots of stories about the fact that a lot of our recycling goes offshore, and the places where it was going, like China, we're not accepting it anymore. So I don't know. I think that if not now, soon, there's going to need to be a rethink of just the volume of stuff that's going to the curb in total.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked as well about, I'm the same. I fill up my recycling bin so rapidly, and I'm just shocked by the amount of packaging. And I know it's a larger issue. I don't know if there's anything the village can do symbolically even to kind of highlight or address this issue. I was thinking about the concept of like symbolically banning plastic or plastic bags, but I don't know who told me that we're not allowed to do that. Apparently, there's some kind of state charter that we're not allowed to make our own kind of decisions regarding that.
Well,
I
we
don't know,
can for the
Coral
government.
Gables. Coral Gables banned plastic bags. I don't know why we couldn't do that.
So no, so Coral Gables, Miami Shores, Miami Beach, a lot of the municipalities bans plastic bags or plastic straws or single-use plastics, and the state of Florida has preempted all of those local regulations and has said that this is a state issue and local municipalities are not allowed to do that, which is a whole nother issue.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what you heard. It was in the news a lot, and there's a fees issue. So a lot of the municipalities just pulled it back instead of being sued over their, what the legislature has made an illegal restriction. But I think Miami Shores just did this, and I've been meaning to bring this up as well. The government the municipality like El Portal could ban single-use plastics in government projects. So you could say that the Village of El Portal is not allowed to use plastic bags or plastic water bottles, and Miami Shores, I think, did that fairly recently. Does that seem right, Mayor Nickerson?
Yes, that does. Everything you said is absolutely spot on. Coral Gables, when they banned plastic, the state did come in there, and if you went to if you were in Coral Gables and you went to like a Publix for a while, they only have paper bags. But the state did come in there and tell them that they couldn't, as a municipality, do that. So now, if you go into a Publix in Coral Gables, they have paper or plastic options now. So.
Yeah, I think an industry association sued the municipalities.
Yeah,
because they said it makes it harder for consumers to not know whether it'll be paper or plastic, depending on what city they're in.
Yeah,
how do we survive?
All right, we've gone into the eddy of absurdity on that one.
Before we go,
well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I do think though that sort of again into the education department, like just a basic education to get people thinking about reduction, right? Not just recycle, but reduce and refuse. So, we can't ban plastic bags, but we can encourage people to, go for paper.
Right.
You know what I mean? So maybe that's the way if we want to talk about it under the umbrella of our education program. And there will be action on that. There will be action on that in the not too distant future, because it's just, I studied the book market. The book market is in supply chain crisis because of the amount of paper pulp that's going to boxes right now. So, it's a larger issue that's going to sort itself out, I think.
Yeah, before we go to Mr. Gladwin, if I can jump in really, really quickly. So anybody who wants to, so everybody gets like the smaller recycling bins, right? If you want the larger one, like it's the same size as your waste bin, you can get that one if you want to. We have that information, I believe, on our website. We have the phone number, but I'm let me get to that in a second. Besides that, you can also get a second bin. You can also get a second bin. All you have to do is call if you call Village Hall, we'll get it. We can get it for you. It's a cost, but it's a minimal cost. It's not a large cost to get the second bin. If anybody wants a second bin, we've had a lot of residents that actually got the second bin. So, so we have that. As far as the education portion, I already have a flyer made up I got from the recycling company with what can be and what can't be recycled. And it's really nice as far as it's all imagery. And, it's really, it's apparent, and it shows what can and can't be recycled, and it's really clear. So I'm going to be handing those out like I've been handing out a lot of other material soon. So I'll be handing those out probably like in 4 weeks. So I have that, but I have that already. I have all the copies for all the households, and it came from the recycle company. So I have that already ready to go. What I don't have, what Vice Chair McLean was talking about, I don't have any language on there that talks about like refuse and things like that. Like it's just a paper, a nice flyer that shows what can be and what can't be recycled. It's really easy to understand. So there's mostly images more than words, so it's really nice.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think if during our education campaign, maybe we could add, like, I'm really happy the recycling company is outlining it, but I'd love to add something about I think it's called like wishful thinking recycling, like when you know it's not technically on the list, but you hope that if you put it in there, it'll get recycled. But that is a problem that is creating less recycling, and that you shouldn't recycle things like because you hope that they can. You should only recycle things that you know. So that'd be great to add to our education campaign. Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, I'm just kind of jumping in out of order here, but I just wanted to be sure that there'll be time in the agenda for the next item, which I put in because I'm going to need some feedback. And I don't know if are you trying to end it by 5?
I think we had the full 2 hours today, right?
Oh, okay, good. Okay, no problem then. Thank you.
Yeah, we're always scheduled from 4 to 5:30. It used to be,
5:30. Sorry.
Yeah, it used to be 3:30 to 5:30, and we knocked it down half an hour, so it's 4 to 5:30. But if we go over, we can go over. It's not a big deal. I have a lot of, I have discretionary funds to pay full moon.
I know that's a good point, Mr. Gladwin. I just was going to add one more thing on recycling. Something, this is like wishful thinking, but every time I ever move or have to use boxes, it always drives me nuts that I have to purchase new boxes or I'll collect them for weeks and still it's not enough. It'd be great if we could have some kind of like sharing system, like, next door will say, oh, I have extra moving boxes if anyone needs them, and someone can post that they need them. Some kind of system where things that are like where things that people don't need anymore, instead of throwing away, can be, like, I want this, I need that, kind of some online system like that in our in the media and information board that we're talking about developing, I think would be great. Okay, number 7, Mr. Webb.
Number 7, infill development. I mean, again, we touched on some of this. There's not a huge amount of empty lots in El Portal that are just waiting to be developed. But the only one thing I was thinking of was maybe a dog park, if there's been any discussion or areas of thought around something like that.
I
would be very pro dog park.
Okay.
We got a lot of dogs.
Yeah, everybody loves dogs.
Everybody loves dogs. So we've gone back and forth, myself and the manager, talking about what space or what park we could possibly make into a dog park. This is something that it's come up on the council, probably since I've been on the council like a couple of times, but it always kind of like falls just kind of short, just because you'll get maybe like a couple residents that come out, which, every resident's voice is important, but you'll get like a vocal minority that will come out and talk about, I don't want a dog park, it's gonna bring too many fleas and it's gonna stink, and and this and that, and so we've gotten that in the past. So we're trying to find a location, since we don't have too many parks, we're trying to find a location away from homes and things like that. Because in the past, like, for example, at one point in time, we were talking about changing the River Estates Park into a dog park. But the neighbors that were there were like, nah, I'm not having it. So it kind of fell to the wayside. We just don't have the space, but if we have the space or anything like that, again, this might go with another plan with the development of the Little River Farm, or Little Farm area. If that gets developed and we're able to tell them, look, while you guys develop this, give us a bike path and give us a little dog park on the edge or something like that. Maybe that might be, how we take care of that. But as far as right now, currently, we just don't have the space in it.
Yeah,
that'd be a great opportunity if that's high density over there, because that means that all the people who own dogs over there won't have a lot of green space for them. So that seems like a win-win potentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. If that development doesn't move forward though, or if that's not an option, is there any room to put a small section of the nature trail in its expanded state that could be used, like fenced off, and because you really just need a fence?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could do that. That could happen. If it expands, then that could happen. Absolutely.
That'd be a pretty full park, nature trail, exercise equipment, dog park.
Dog park.
One-stop shop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, what would be perfect if we could do one both in the little farm and in the nature trail, because you have somebody
Yeah.
someone for the people on that side. They don't have to travel across the village to go to a dog park. So that would be good.
Awesome. All right.
Number 8 needs no discussion. Leadership, strong, stronger, strongest. Simple. I think we're all here. That's testament to that.
Well, we tried, Member Webb. I'm telling you, we tried. You know, I'm standing on the. You know, I just did the State of the Village address recently, and you know, I was talking about a whole bunch of different things. But as I said, you know, I stand on the shoulders of, you know, those that came before me, Mayor Cabillos and others. You know, Mayor Edmondson, Audrey Edmondson, and those who came before me. So, you know, it's different. It's interesting because when you know, when somebody's in office, you have, you know, what they want to do, but it's kind of like viewed through like their personality and kind of like how they are as a person. You know, you're more electing the person, you know, as much as anything else, as much as their policies. And it's like, you know, me, my whole, I guess, just like my background, having my degrees in history and things like that, it's just that's all I think about. I just think about El Portal, like when I'm no longer here. So that's why my focus is all infrastructure and business. I just want to like set it up for like the future generations. You know, we're all dead and gone. That's my focus. You know, so for me, you know, it's interesting because different leaders that have different personalities, they bring and they add so many different functions to like the ongoing history and legacy of like, you know, our community. So you had, you know, my predecessor, you know, Mayor Cabillos, she really put us on the map as far as like, you know, because she was all about, you know, the you know, public relations and all about, you know, getting in front of the camera. And so she would have put us on the map and let people know exactly like who we were and how we existed and things like that. So, you know, I'm just picking up from that mantle, but my personality is a little bit different. I'm more of a behind the scenes type of person. You know, I'm a nerd and a dork and a wonk, you know, so I'm just kind of like put me in the back room. But, you know, I take what she built off of that now we're noticed. And you know, I'm just taking that and just trying to implement, you know, the future of our village as far as like infrastructure and putting businesses in place and things like that. So infrastructure and business is like my focus when it comes to things. So after me, there'll be, you know, another leader, you know, that hopefully will be even stronger than me, that will lead El Portal to the next phase, you know. And like I said, in the State of the Village, just very quickly, I know we have to get the Hughes thing also, but like I said, in the State of the Village, you know, when I took office, you know, a year ago, you know, I took office and you know, we had a lot of situations going on financially that, you know, we're still climbing up out of. But I think that, you know, I'm at the point to where myself and the manager, you know, we've climbed out of that ditch enough to where, you know, I'm transitioning, what I said in the State of the Village, I'm transitioning to phase 2. And in phase 2, you know, we're going to really like be more aggressive with the funding and with changing things and doing things when it comes to that. So that's how it goes. It's an ongoing everyday process, my brother, Member Webb.
Good. Okay, number 9, thank you for that, is green policies. So just kind of maybe other items we haven't missed. You know, I know there's issues around septic to sewer that are going on. We've got I guess storm drainage going on here. So just trying to get an understanding of what's ahead and you know, what we'd like discussed, planned for the future and the far future in terms of that infrastructure.
Well, you know, thank you. We've repaired the septic to sewer relationship, so that's going to be starting. I mean, I'm seeing the construction plans. Last week we had a meeting about that, so it's just getting closer and closer and closer to the starting of that project, which is good to see. When it comes to that, the school board is now asking, which I have it in the funding, so it's not a huge deal, even though I was going to use that funding for part of the septic to sewer actual project. Now the school board is saying, because we're putting the pumping station, which I try so hard to repair the relationship with, you know, the engineering firm, which is done, and then after that's done, the school board is like, well, we want like $35,000 for the use of our land for you putting the pumping station there on our land. We're like, hold up, but before it was just a done deal. Now you guys want $35,000. So we're going through that, but it is, like I said, I have the funding. I was going to use it for something else, but you know, $35,000 in the scope of the entirety of how much this project is going to be is not a lot. But at the same time, it's just people always have their hands out. People always have their hands out. Remember way. But that's going on. It's back on task. It gets closer and closer every week. So yeah, that's good. As far as storm drain, you know, right now in your area, I know you want to kill me, Member Webb, because we have all the streets getting torn up for the flood mitigation, but that's just the first step. And you know, slowly and surely, we're trying to address not only flood and storm drains, storm drainage, I should say, but also, you know, septic sewer at the same time simultaneously. So both of those things are ongoing projects, but they've both been started, as you know, from your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and we can put our, you know, just to connect the dots between this, the energy initiative that we're, you know, have flagged earlier also falls under this, right? If it has to do with improving the electrical situation for the village, right?
Yeah, it should go here. I even had it there. I just noticed
Yeah,
some element of it.
Great. All right. Number 10.
Yeah, and then the last one is just, you know, this speaks to just kind of programming, supporting, I guess, all the other elements. I know we did have our Arbor Day and the Little River cleanup and other activities. Just really, again, prompting discussion. You know, they're good for the sense of community. They're good educational opportunities as we roll out these new initiatives. You know, if there's any other kind of ideas that people have around, you know, more the programming aspect around these initiatives.
So because of our financial situation that I came into, you know, we kind of, you know, cut out many of our activities, but we kept the ones that were like Arbor Day, Little River Cleanup, the ones that I felt were, you know, should not be cut out because they do more. It's, to me, those events are more than just activities for the community. Those events are activities, but they're also educational. So that's why we kept those in. As far as other activities, which I'm sure this is, or I'm thinking this is not what you're talking about, but as far as other activities like we just passed Halloween and things like that, I did tell the council, myself and the vice mayor Urban, you know, we did tell the council we'll try to bring those back full swing next year if the funding's there. But I'm really, as I said before, you guys, you know, different leaders have different personalities. Like I'm really focused on just getting the things done that really affects the households of the individuals in El Portal. You know what I mean? And just so things like Halloween, holiday parties and things like that, it's just, I just rather put that money somewhere else and put that energy somewhere else right now. I'm not saying we'll never do it, but just right now, those type of events, I'm just not really going to be focusing on. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. So are there any other kind of green issues that we didn't touch on, or sustainability and environmental issues, you think?
Great job, Member Webb. This was really wonderful.
No.
This was great, and thank you, Chairperson Carpenter, for having us go through the whole thing, because this was really important, and we really got a lot of information out of this. So thank you to both of you.
I think that this framework is something that we should keep moving forward, because it allows us to I mean, even some of the initiatives that we've already worked on or that we're tracking, like our communication plan or our storm preparedness, like it has a place on this grid, and we should be able to show progression on this grid if we track what we're working on against these, because I think that there's pretty comprehensive, Matthew.
This is
really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Kristen. And yeah, I was just going to reiterate the same thing. Member Webb, this was really helpful, and I feel like we came up with a lot of brought up a lot of ideas that, we would not have if we hadn't gone through this process. So thank you. In the interest of time, we'll move on to Mr. Gladwin's item H2, residential property park conversion. And I think we got 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay,
And you guys,
great.
and Hugh, let me just say really, really quickly, Madam Chair, if I may.
course.
This member Webb's his presentation, you guys not only got it today, but it's also, you guys got it back in on Saturday, October 9th, I think it is. I'm showing on my my email. So you guys have it there twice if you guys need it. I'm gonna have it for your own notes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Gladwin.
Mr. Gladwin, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm doing my usual thing of trying to find where I'm sharing the screen. Can you see this writing here?
Not
Probably.
yet.
Let's see. Never know how to do this.
There we go. We see
Okay.
we see your website now.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a letter you just got a copy emailed to you, and what this is about is something that some of you know about, which is that I've long thought that my property at 400 Northeast 85th Street, which I think most of you've seen, at least going by or from the water, would make a wonderful park for El Pertel someday. And it obviously fits in Mr. Webb's site there, but things have happened where, and I've talked to Elizabeth about this a little bit before, that we're now in a situation where I really would like to have everybody, you guys, consider doing this. It would be, so what I've done is I've made whoops. Well, for some reason, I'm not getting pictures on this. Can you see this?
We're looking at the letter from you on your website.
Yeah, it says my screen sharing is paused. Oh, maybe I'm in the, oh, okay. Can you see it change now?
Nope, same thing.
Okay, let me stop this sharing. I just never get this right. How about now? Can you see it?
Yes. Pictures, right?
Yeah, pictures.
Perfect.
Okay. Wow. It's kind of a rush to even say this, but my feeling has been that our property, which is almost an acre on the Little River, would make a wonderful park where people could be able to access the river and do other things. So what I did was I have written up a proposal for it. This is the website here, and it's in the letter, this letter, which you just got. And I would like you guys to really carefully take a look at it. So what I've done here in this website is kind of give the basic idea, locations, why it's valuable for El Pertel, the river, planning for it, and everything else. I don't know if I need to say anything about how valuable it could be. I think the best thing is just for you guys to look at it, and then we'll kind of get back to it at some point in the future. However, there is a problem. Let me just get this back so I can see you guys. What I would like to do now is let you guys do that, but kind of explain the decision process that I and my wife are in right now on this property, and see what you think. So the situation is that if the village decided that this would make a good park, the funding to acquire it would come from the Trust for Public Land. And, I've done a huge amount of research both on the idea of this becoming a park and how it would happen, and that's on the web page, but also the Trust for Public Land and also a corresponding Florida program that we applied to. But I am certain that this is exactly, on the letter that I sent you, I'm sorry. There's a link to the Trust for Public Land, but here it is right here. I don't know if we can go in this thing, but the thing is, it is exactly the kind of thing that they fund. If you look at the projects they fund, they're totally into funding urban green space park, into parks that function for the environment, that you could just run down the list and see all the things that they will fund. So I think getting funding for it would happen for sure. The second thing is funding to convert it into a park and then maintain it. And if you look at my proposal, the idea is that the Little River Conservancy, working with the task force, kind of under the guidance of the task force, would operate the park, would get funding to have a full-time person in the park who would also, maintain the water quality measuring instruments that the Little River Conservancy has already started working on, and so on and so forth. So I'm convinced that if you look at this, this letter is going out to you guys, to the mayor, to the Little River Conservancy, which is basically Kristen and Adam besides me, and the county in terms of Jim Murley and Katie, because as you'll see, this park and its functioning is very closely linked to the Little River Area Action Plan as a place to implement it, monitor it, and so on. So it's all very tightly integrated with that. So I don't want to say anything more. You can ask me questions, but I need to kind of get into the decision process. I'm confident that if you look at this, I hope you'll think it's a good idea and back it. But the thing is, if it's seen to be a good idea, if the funding's there, then this is a process which could, go on for a while to make happen. But
yeah, Hugh, I want to ask I think we do. I would back you on this idea that I think we should digest it and the different stakeholders should talk about it. But tell us a little bit about your timeline. Like, what kind of decision-making timeline are you guys on right now?
Yeah, that is exactly the problem for us, because the long-term timeline is that sometime in the next year or so, because of age and health and things like that, my wife and I want to move to a continuing care retirement community, which is nearby, which would enable us to stay living in the area, stay being active with El Pertel, like those others of you, Kristen, who moved away, but also be able to afford long-term health care, which we couldn't otherwise. And these CCRCs are like a super fancy, very expensive condo that has lifetime health care attached. So we've been accepted in one that's really nice nearby in Aventura, but it takes a chunk of change to get in, and we don't need that chunk of change right away, but we need to know that it's happening. So our dilemma has been that, we can figure out how to like make this work if, if El Pertel and the county look at this and says, yes, this is something we are going to apply for the Trust for Public Land for the money. No promises, of course, nothing's 100%, but we know it's likely to happen. We know, all it really takes is a phone call at one of these meetings of Mayor Nickerson and Mayor Levine Cava to the Trust for Public Land to get the answer we need for that. But if we don't have that answer, and this is like, well, maybe it'll happen in the future, or maybe it won't, then we have no choice but to sell our house now. And we put it on the market now, and the market now, I can tell you, is extremely bizarre right now. There's, for our property, if you look at Zillow, there's a really big price. It seems like a really big price, but that will get talked down because the things that make it a really good price are not valued by the current real estate market. Essentially, what's determining value now is how close you are to what's defined as a high crime area, believe it or not, if you do an analysis of properties. But the other weird thing is there's kind of two real estate markets going on now that we're straddling. There's one market that's the one you read about, that people are selling houses, and the other market is for properties on the high ground that will be resilient in future flood events. And for that market, it turns out that there's only 3 properties on the Little River that meet the criteria of having land that's above 5 feet. Only 3 on our side. No, there's only 2 on our side. Our property, the one next to it, across the river, it's the Seabird Station site and about 2 others. The Water Management District is desperate to get access to land for their operations. That's the sort of bargaining that's been driving all the negotiations over the land that they need with Pelican Harbor. And I can tell you those prices are quite a bit different than, in the bargaining, this is like, don't repeat this, but in the back and forth bargaining with Pelican Harbor, because the Water Management District has put a claim on a big chunk of their land that they need for their river access. But at one point, one of the offers that was floated was that if, and again, don't repeat me, but if Pelican Harbor could convince me to sell our property to them, then they would just sort of hold it as empty property in reserve for river operations that they will need. So you'll see in the plan that I made that the plan also includes pump stations that they need, that El Pertal needs. It includes a river access road and those things. So, what I guess I'm saying right now is if we sell our house, it's going to become an Airbnb, I can assure you. I mean, there's just crazy stuff going on right now about that, and we'll get probably enough money to afford this next move, but it will be terrible for the village, and it won't be the best transaction for us. So that's the pressure. Basically, we've arranged a bridge loan and funding and stuff like that, that if there's a go-ahead from the village and the county with a response from the Trust for Public Land that says that this is likely to happen, then we can go ahead and put things in motion so that you know, it might even be a year and a half from now that it actually transacts to become a park. But that's the pressure on us now. You know, so I'm kind of appealing, you know, to the task force, but I'm particularly appealing to the mayor and to Kristen and Adam, you know, as the forces that have to kind of come together and say, this is a good idea and we can do it. So that's, I don't know if that answers your question, Kristen, but
No, that's super helpful, Hugh.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this group should digest it, and then we should put it on the agenda for a major chunk of our next meeting,
Yeah.
potentially.
But
Yeah.
the problem is, you know, I need some movement on this even before the next meeting. I mean, what I would do on that is I would like to meet with you and Adam, Kristen, and I'd like to meet with the mayor and Jim Murley, you know, and this letter will go out, but unfortunately we need to have some action on it quicker than the next thing. I mean, as you'll see on the proposal, I think if we do this and if it comes to pass, it's going to be an incredible opportunity for the village to work together to develop a wonderful site. You know, I could just see all the things we'll be doing together as a collective effort on the site if we can get it. So.
Well, if I may,
Yeah.
Drew, I think that is most generous for you and your wife to think of. And it's just a testament, I feel, it's a testament to your devotion to conservation and to water, to actually do that with the land that you own that's so valuable to the village, and thinking of it as a park would be, I mean, I would be honored and think of you every time, and I would feel that, you know, this is an opportunity definitely of a lifetime. I think El Portal should definitely highly consider this, because really, it could still be a little hidden gem pocket park with so many wonderful things happening there. And we don't have many green spaces. This would be expanding green space in a wonderful way. And I thank you again for your decision to do something special like that.
I feel the decision's a bit selfish too, though, because, you know, I've lived here in this part of the village for over 30 years, and I've lived in this property for 20 years, you know, and I just walked out in the lawn 3 hours ago, and there were 8 manatees jumping around right in front, you know, and it was just the idea that this land would go to some crazy developer who'd build a mega, who, you know, it's like, you know, it would kill me. I mean, I've talked to Elizabeth about this a little, and you know how I feel about it, but, you know, I mean, whatever, so that's my thought. But I would like to meet with you, Mayor, and and Kristen, and get in touch with Adam, and we can move forward on this, and hopefully maybe at the next meeting you'll have some answers, and maybe can start talking about how to implement some of the work on it.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, let me just say this. When Hugh sent this to me earlier today, I actually had a meeting with the chair earlier today, and I told her, I was like, yeah, I have a meeting with Mr. Gladwin in a little while, whatever. But when Hugh sent this out to me earlier today, I immediately emailed it to him. I said, the first thing I said, man, I said, Hugh, you're making me too sad that you're going to be leaving, right? Hugh, that's the first thing I sent. I also, the second thing I did was I forwarded it to the, not even, when I sent him my response telling him how sad I was to read it, I included the village manager in. I copied her in on that, and then she responded to him also right after that. So I think that what Vice Chair McLean said is what we should do. I'll make this the first item on our next meeting. In the meantime, Hugh, so there's a lot of things that pop up initially, which is the TPL. I'm going to have to, once I contact them, I have to see how much funding that they fund, right? So depending on how much they fund, do they fund the full amount of, your asking price for your home? Is it partial? How much will the village have to fund and make up for that? Do we have that funding to make up for whatever they don't fund? So all these type of things are going to be the first things that I'm going to ask them as far as that goes. And also for the Trust for Public Land, as municipality, can El Portal go in on its own, or does a county, do I need a county representative to go in on me and I go in underneath them as a partnership? That would be another question I have to ask them. So there's a bunch of questions I have to ask them, but definitely we can meet with myself, with you, even if we all want to do it at the same time with Adam and Kristen, Little River Conservancy, along with myself and the manager. But yeah, we can meet there. But before that, myself and the manager will have to contact the TPL and kind of get their guidelines as far as what's in their pot, how much do they offer, and upkeep and things like that. And then we'll go to like the next phase of questions. If we can get past that point. I heard you say earlier about, we'll address all of this stuff next time. But I heard you say earlier about, if we did get it, having an individual in the park. And securing the funding to have an individual in the park and things like that. And so would the task force be securing that funding, or would Village of El Portal as a government be securing that funding, and things like that? So those are things that going forward we would have to see, because one thing is to get something, but we also have to look at the overall year in year out of obtaining it, and keeping it not falling to the wayside. So we have to have that funding also.
Right.
Yeah. So we have to see how much the county, if the county's getting involved. A lot of times when the county gets involved, it kind of likes to own things once they get involved, right? They want to own it also if they're going to put their energy behind it. So we have to figure that out with the county. Is it going to be an El Portal park or a county park? Nevertheless, one thing I will say is that if this does go through, we're going to name it after you, Hugh. That's one thing I will say, Darren. No, 100%, my brother, 100%. I'm not
name it for my mother. No.
So.
And anyway, yeah, I just want to quickly say something about that, which is that, I have gone through this process before, about 20 years ago, when Oakland Grove and a whole bunch of us put together a proposal to get the Florida Community Trust, which actually works very similar to the Trust for Public Land, and is still in operation. So I know, basically what those kind of things do is initially the Trust for Public Land may do more, but it's to get the purchase price, the further operating costs. I mean, for the thing we did before, it would have been in the city of Miami. We put together a proposal. Oakland Grove Neighborhood Association was the local group and would be managing it. Little River Conservancy could fill that role here. But it's pretty straightforward. We got approved, we got funded until it got nixed by having ground pollution on the site. But I actually thought about that we should apply to them too. I looked it all up. It actually turns out that the huge proposal for that land, 80% of it could still be used for this one. But the reason the Trust for Public Land is better is the Florida process is slower, and I think less certain. I don't know, but it would be another option too. I think if we're talking to Murley and those people, there is the issue that we want this to be an El Portal park that El Portal controls. But at the same time, I think in the Little River AAA framework, the way that whole thing is set up, I think the Levinkov and they all set it up in a way that gives El Portal a lot of autonomy. you know, because I think this would be a very essential part of the Little River AAA sort of implementation. So anyway, all those things are to be discussed.
It'll be the first agenda item for the next meeting, Hugh.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Hugh. I know you and I, as you mentioned, have talked about this, but what an exciting proposition. And in the interest of time, I very much second Maribel's comments about what a great thing you're proposing for the community as well.
Just look carefully at my proposal and let me know what you think.
Okay, great. So I know we're over time a little, but we're done. The next task force meeting is Wednesday, December 1st. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah,
Fine for me.
yeah. All good.
Okay, great. And then, all right, that's it with the agenda items, unfinished business. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Dickerson, to review the outstanding items.
Yeah, you guys just when you take a look at the minutes that we moved to next meeting, and you look under the issues and action items, you'll see all the ones I've added from last time. We decided to talk about the things we're focusing on. It's all there. From the text notification service to the fertilizer ordinance, the education of village residents, the water quality. I have it in, I have water quality under A and B, which is water quality from El Portal, which is our folks in the septic tank, stormwater, general trash, and fertilizer. And section B, I have that for a compact agreement, how El Portal can work with other municipalities to improve their water quality. So all that's there. And then we have a couple of things from today that I'll add on to that list. And then so we'll have those two different minutes to pass next time.
Okay, great. Any unfinished business from any task force members? No, okay. Any new business? No, all right. Any good and welfare? Okay, anything else from anybody? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Can I get a second? All right, hearing a motion in second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the task force meeting is officially adjourned at 5:37 p.m.
Thank you guys
Thank you.
very much. I appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys. Great meeting you guys. Thank you. A lot of good information.
Thank you, bye.
Full Moon, thank you, Full Moon, for sending out those personal invites. It's such a late date or such a late time. We appreciate that. And we appreciate everything you guys do. You guys take care. Have a wonderful day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.